Hey, friend of Silver Lake. I'm Brian Lapis, co-chair of Friends of Silver Lake.
And I am Reverend Andrew Wicks, the other co-chair of the board of directors of Friends of Silver Lake.
We're just getting done with our April 26th in-person meeting here at Avon Congregational Church. And before we show you a video recap of the update, we wanted to get you up to speed on what's happening with the Friends of Silver Lake.
Since we last met and spoke with you, we've had the chance to do a deep dive into what's happening at Silver Lake and some details about the property and start to develop a vision and plan for the future of the ministry of Silver Lake. In the last few weeks, we have submitted a proposal to the conference as they have requested, and in the coming days, we will have an opportunity to sit down with representatives of conference leadership and talk through that proposal with them.
In the upcoming video, you're going to hear from Mary Kuchenbrod, who is kind of the lead of our business planning committee, and she's going to detail some of the research that led up to the proposal. You're not going to get the details of the proposal because we feel that we need to honor our covenant with the conference and let the conference see, digest, and reply to our proposal before we can share those details with you.
What we can tell you at this point is we are actively pursuing an opportunity to offer an ongoing ministry in Sharon at the Silver Lake property. We want to work with the conference to create an opportunity like that. In our proposal to the conference, we have tried to approach them with an idea that we want to continue the historic ministry of Silver Lake in Sharon, Connecticut, and that we also have an open mind to the possibilities of how that could happen. We understand that the conference has not clearly articulated its hopes for the future of that property, and so we want to be open-minded about working with them towards those ends.
So we implore your patience as we honor our covenant with the Southern New England Conference, and eventually we will share some of those details of the proposal with you, who we are also in covenant with. There are some things that we would love for you to do in the meantime. Andrew?
We need your help to share the word about Friends of Silver Lake. Even though hundreds of people have already become involved in Friends of Silver Lake, we know that there are many, many people who love this place, who have been transformed by it, who have not had a chance to connect. So if you can take a few minutes to share the link to friendsofsilverlake.com or to share with other people the news of what we're doing, that will help us make a big difference to building up our base and working towards a secure future for Silver Lake's ministry.
And there are a few things that you can do at your local church. First, if you haven't been to a local church in a while, go to one of our local Southern New England Conference United Church of Christ congregations. If you are already a church member, that's fantastic too. Either way, we hope that you will go to church and let anybody who will listen, pastor, congregational leadership, parents of young people, other stakeholders at these local congregations, tell them how much Silver Lake has meant to you in your faith journey and in your life as a young person and now as an adult.
It's also important to note that the conference has announced this summer and this fall, there will be upcoming votes of the local churches to determine the future of Silver Lake. We need representatives from local churches in the historic Connecticut Conference to attend these meetings and vote to preserve the future of this ministry. So if you're involved in a local church or have been historically, please go talk to the pastor and the leadership there about how you can be a delegate to any annual meeting or conference meeting where votes will be taking place to secure the future of Silver Lake.
We'd also appreciate your monetary donation to Friends of Silver Lake, and you can do that easily through our website at friendsofsilverlake.com. The money that you donate now helps us tool up to make this organization the best it can be and helps us discern a way to the future for the historic mission of Silver Lake.
We believe the future of Silver Lake is vibrant. We hope that what you hear in the coming presentation by Mary gives you a sense of confidence that we've thought through the possibilities and created a vision for how that future can be sustainable and can carry through for future generations to have the transformative experiences that we each had at Silver Lake. So as the conference has asked for proposals, we have in fact put forward a proposal to them to offer continuance for the historic mission and ministry. The work to get to that proposal was done through a tremendous amount of effort by our business planning committee, which has been chaired by Mary Kuchenbrod. They have gone through an extensive process, and so I want to invite her up to talk for a while about
all the things that we've done. This is not a slapstick effort. A tremendous amount of work has gone into thinking through the pieces of this. So Mayor, if you can come up, and I invite you to give you a warm welcome.
Hi, everyone. I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you for making time. Thank you for being present. Thank you for being interested. My name is Vera Cooper-Road. I'm the chair of the Business Planning Committee for the Fossil Board. Also started life as a serial conferee at Silver Lake. At one point, I held the record for the most conferences attended as a young girl. I was surpassed. Followed by dean and counselor. And staff member. Thank you. We have completed a couple stages of what you can think about as our roadmap here. We have organized and prepared, as Andrew and Brian described, and we have also just recently submitted a formal proposal to the conference for the future of Silver Lake property. And today I want to go through some of that planning process, some of what we've researched, some of the planning and budgeting and scenario exercises we went through, some of the experiences of other summer camps who have gone independent from their conferences and what that takes and what the challenges are. I welcome questions as I go and interruptions. Raise your hand, jump in. Otherwise, let the discussion be on the spot. Great. So, my handy speaking class. We submitted a proposal. It was I know it's 20 pages, something like that. Because this was not just a call for the preservation of Silver Lake's ministry, but a really researched proposal plan, set of opinions, set of understanding of the realities of what we're facing, with the intent that this be a conversation about what will it really take for a viable Silver Lake? What would it take to be in a position where we are continuing the ministry, and then what does it take for that continued ministry to even be viable for future generations? So what structures have actually worked in other places with other camps? What's financially realistic for Silver Lake for the certain set expenses of the property? What risks are manageable and what risks are less manageable? We'll talk about some risks today, including deferred maintenance on the property. And what would give Silver Lake the best chance to thrive? So we did our research across a couple of different areas, nonprofit camp transitions, both in the UCC and in other denominations. We'll talk about 3 case studies today about other camps who have gone independent of their conferences. We looked through different pathways for asset transfer or purchase or lease or financing structures that would enable Fossil to engage with the property to operate Silver Lake at that location. And we talked through the different transition planning, the different capital campaign feasibilities, the realities of staffing and insurance and maintenance of the property to have a proposal that really could be taken seriously as something worth trusting for the future. So, we did consider just about every possible option for engagement going forward, including a transfer of assets from the conference to Fossil, outright purchase by Fossil, seller financed purchasing, leasing with intent to purchase, long-term lease, as well as looking at other alternative locations where the ministry could continue. And we evaluated each of those possible pathways according to the dimensions of their mission continuity, the continuance of the historic identity of Silver Lake, clarity of ownership, the financial feasibility, the fundraising practicality, and the long-term sustainability of every possible option. And to find not the most emotionally satisfying option per se, but to find the option that has the strongest realistic path forward. So, a couple vignettes here of other camps that have gone through this. Because one of the most important things that we learned is encouraging, which is that camps going independent can work. And in fact, every camp in the UCC that has gone independent of its conference is still in operation today.
Say it again.
That's sad.
Yes, go right ahead.
Do you happen to know how long the longest number of years has been for any of those camps?
The longest of the ones that we engaged closely with is going on 15 years now. And I believe that there are older examples of this. Now, there is an important difference between continuing to be open and being really sustainable and in a comfortable position. And we also looked at what are the differences between those, the camps that have stayed open and are really thriving right now, the camps that have stayed open and have less than $10,000 in their bank account. So, a couple conferences that are recent examples is Illinois has Pilgrim Park and Tower Hill are the two summer camps associated with the Illinois conference. And after facing, in many ways, a similar set of realities, the challenge of declining campership, of decreasing financial viability of the camps as operated by the conference, their joint planning efforts concluded that the camps would be most sustainable as independent nonprofits going forward. Because as independent nonprofits, they would have more choices, more flexibility, the ability to go into more diverse revenue stream areas outside of the historic conference footprint. And so in Illinois, they established independent nonprofit 501c3 entities. One camp actually already had one, another camp they created one. Have transferred the assets to those entities. All of the properties and supplies and endowments and restricted funds associated with those camps were transferred to the new entities, and they provided 5 years of ramped down operational support. So the conference in Connecticut, Silver Lake has historically provided Silver Lake has received operational support from the conference on an annual basis. The similar setup in the conferences ramped down that dollar amount in their annual budget over a 5-year period. So transition support is not inappropriate, it's not unprecedented, and the transfer of assets is not. But that also was a fairly unique relationship and set of circumstances. We also had in Michigan Camp Talahi. In that circumstance, the conference announced their intent to wind down operations of the camp, and an alumni organization was formed. Might feel a little bit similar to what we're talking about today. The Camp Talahi Alumni Organization was able to enter an agreement with the conference to lease the property and continue operating the camp. So they did that for a number of years at a fairly nominal lease, until there came a point where there was a desire to actually have the property be purchased, transferred, and an independent entity associated with the Alumni Association purchased the property, and they continue to operate today. In the Montana-Wyoming Conference, Camp Mimanagish is on forest land of the U.S. Forest Service, and so the conference did not actually own the land either, but they had a long-standing, they own the buildings, and they have the ability to operate the camp there. And when they made a similar decision that it was no longer financially viable for the conference to operate the camp, an alumni organization was formed that was able to purchase the buildings under the boundaries of the constraints of the forest system and continue operating as well. And all of those camps have been operationally viable and break even financially since they got independent. We did learn in having conversations with people who have been this before that a good mission is important, but it's not enough on its own, and that having the right structures, having the right experts, having the right financial runway, having the right governance in place, as well as having the right relationship, in some circumstances, with the conference entity or with a church entity. When we look at broader trends, the camps that go independent that are most successful tend to have some kind of ongoing covenantal relationship with either the conference as an entity or another local affiliation of churches as an entity, as opposed to operating on a complete island following going independent. So that was reassuring. That this has been done by other camps, that other conferences, with successful outcomes for the communities and for the mission, and with the ability in many of those circumstances to create the operating model that had not been possible or had not been achieved under conference leadership. We also asked ourselves realistically about our fundraising capacity. What is our capital campaign capacity as an organization? And we deliberately tried to be conservative here. We asked ourselves, could Fossil reasonably raise $3 to $5 million in the near term? And our conclusion was that we don't yet have that capacity, and that we can raise substantial money in the future. But we did not want to base a proposal on a significant amount of upfront capital that we were not confident we would have the ability to raise. And there are certain conditions where we think it is very possible to raise larger amounts of money. But that depends, we believe, in demonstrated success in initial years of operations, some improvements to the camper experience and to the programs that are being operated, and some durable structural agreements that protects Fossil's ability to continue operating at the camp. So that we are, there's clear direction about what funds are going to, that it's directed towards the mission and to renewal. And generally, there is more capacity for giving when we have a real future that we know that Greg has to do. So that shaped our proposal and our recommended path forward in a couple ways. It made us cautious about potential pathways that would involve large upfront capital investments, and about structures that would put too much financial risk upon Fossil too early without the ability to ramp up and build that donor base over time. Another area that we spent time evaluating is the deferred maintenance on 223 Low Road itself. There's the assets and liabilities. The asset is the property that we're discussing the future of, but that property has also had a number of opportunities over the years for age, not lack of care, but continuing opportunities or continuing needs for groundskeeping, trees, roofs, windows, wastewater systems, and the conference has put out some information about its expectations about deferred maintenance on the property as part of sharing information about their decision making, and that's a significant reality of anyone who intends to do anything at 223 Low Road going forward. So as we considered that, we also thought through in our recommendation the ability, as we do develop fundraising capacity, as we do develop capital, that we have the right amount of realistic planning for what the maintenance needs of the property would be. And if possible, end up in a financial situation where capital available is going to that and to the mission as opposed to an asset transfer. So we submitted a proposal to the conference, thinking through all of these variables, thinking through what we thought would be the most viable pathway for an ongoing dialogue between Fossil and the conference. We were clear in outlining that option that it was our preference, what we thought was most viable going forward. But also that if the conference wants to work with us and has concerns about the specific outlined options, that we are open to discussing a variety of different options in collaboration with you. We think that's the most responsible thing that we can do at this stage, is to outline a path that we think is viable, and also to express the degree of flexibility that we think we can, in good faith, work together with. Definitely. So, success, what does that look like right now? We're in phase 3 engagement with the Southern New England Conference. We can't promise right now, and success does not mean right now, Silver Lake is secured and its future is guaranteed. But success right now, we've developed a credible proposal. We've submitted it. We're prepared for serious conversations in the next stages with having done our research, knowing what we would be signing up for, and are ready to move into the next couple phases here. Diligence, negotiation, agreement on structure if we reach one, and then moving forward in phases 6 and 7 are really the operations of the go-forward ministry. But we can't promise that the conference will accept this proposal, or that negotiations will begin immediately, or that we will reach a final agreement, or that the structure that we put in place in the long term will be guaranteed to succeed. In any complicated decision making, I think about the amount of information that is available, as well as the amount of control of the outcome that we have. And part of what I think is coming up today in a lot of different perspectives of challenge is that we have, relative to what we would like to have, a lot less than complete information.
Yeah.
There's information about the historic financials of Silver Lake, about the work that the Kaleidoscope consultants did, about the state of the property, that would determine the deferred maintenance commitment to anyone taking it on. That's not information that's available to us and constrained anything that we could put together in a proposal. There's also quite a lot right now that is outside of our control for what the final outcome is.
Right, we
And so-
understand that part.
And so what we are left attempting to kind of thread the needle on is what moves the conversation forward in a spirit of very strong intended partnership on our part, assuming the same positive intent from the conference's part, to get to the next couple stages where we are in possession of more information, in possession of more control over the outcome.